Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are diving right into, well, what is probably the single biggest shift in the digital world since Google itself first appeared. We're talking about the war between traditional search engine optimization, SEO, and this massive new multi-billion-dollar field of generative engine optimization, or GEO.
That's right. I mean, the rules for how you get found online didn't just get an update. They were completely rewritten around 2025. This isn't just a small change. It's a total break from the past. And we've been looking at a ton of recent industry reports, strategy guides, all the latest market insights that are really defining this new reality. Some people call it answer engine optimization, or AEO.
AEO, right, because it's not about clicks anymore.
It's about answers. That's the whole game now.
And our mission today really is to give you, our listener, a complete playbook. This is not just about some small marketing trend. This change impacts literally every business that needs people to find them online, from the e-commerce giants all the way down to tiny B2B blogs.
Absolutely. We're going to break down what changed, why we're seeing fewer clicks, but, and this is the key part, much higher quality conversions. And of course, how you can adapt your content so it gets cited and, even more importantly, trusted by these new AI platforms.
The stakes are just astronomical. That's why we're calling this the $80 billion shift. And it all starts with this core paradox, this central tension of 2025.
It really does. So on one hand, search volume is actually growing. It's booming. Google is now processing somewhere between 9.1 and 13.6 billion searches every single day. I mean, think about that. Yep. That's a huge jump from 8.5 billion just a year ago in 2024.
So more searches are happening than ever before. Logically, you'd think, okay, more traffic for everybody, but that's not what's happening.
Not at all. That's the paradox. More searches, but clicks are just falling off a cliff.
Yep.
But here's the really interesting part, the twist. The traffic that does make it through to a website is so much higher in quality. It's night and day.
What do you mean by higher quality?
I mean, the difference between someone just browsing and someone who is ready to buy right now, we're seeing conversion rates that are 4, 5, sometimes even 9 times better than what we used to call good organic traffic.
9 times better. That's the silver lining in what otherwise sounds like total doom for website owners. Okay, let's unpack this. Let's get into the hard data on how search is fragmenting. If search volume is up, but Google's losing market share, something huge must be soaking up all those queries. And it's not just Bing.
Exactly. For the first time since 2015, Google's global market share actually dipped below that really important 90% mark. It landed at 89.54% in late 2025. Now, on paper, 89.54% still sounds completely dominant.
It does, yeah.
But that little dip represents billions of searches a day that are going somewhere else. And they are going straight into what you can only call the AI parallel universe, a totally separate ecosystem for discovery.
And the scale of that universe is just mind-boggling. We're not talking about little niche tools here. These are platforms that became giants overnight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's start with the big one, ChatGPT. It is now processing over 1 billion queries every single day.
1 billion a day.
1 billion queries. It's effectively the world's second biggest search engine, or maybe the world's largest answer engine. It has a lock on the market too, with about 82.7% of the entire AI chatbot market share and 400 million weekly active users.
That number, 1 billion queries a day, is just shocking when you think about how fast they got there. Traditional search engines took decades to build that kind of scale, but what's really telling is how quickly people are changing their habits.
The habit shift is the real story here. We're seeing data that says 77% of Americans are now using ChatGPT as a search engine. And get this, nearly a quarter of them, 24%, are going to ChatGPT before they even think about opening Google.
24%. That one number tells you everything about where intent is heading. It's a fundamental behavior change. And this isn't just OpenAI, right? There are other players driving this.
Oh, not at all. You've got Perplexity, which is another huge player. They're really focused on super accurate, fact-checked answers with clear citations. And as of May 2025, they're handling 780 million searches a month. And these platforms are evolving past just answering questions. OpenAI is pushing deeper into e-commerce with things like an agent mode that can do tasks for you and even instant checkout right inside the chat.
So it's not just a search engine. It's becoming a full-on assistant and a commerce platform.
Exactly, an end-to-end platform.
Okay, so that leads us to the single biggest threat these platforms pose to, anyone with a website, the zero-click apocalypse. If you can start your research journey in a chat and the AI gives you a perfect, synthesized answer, Why would you ever need to click a link?
This is the existential question for every content publisher out there. Zero-click rates, where the user gets what they need without ever leaving the results page or the chat, are now hitting 60% of all queries.
60%. So 6 out of every 10 searches end right there. No click.
That's the global average.
Yeah.
And it gets worse.
I was going to say, for news or info-heavy queries, it must be even higher.
It is. If you isolate news-related searches, the zero-click rate shot up from 56% to 69% in just 1 year. Between May 2024 and May 2025. That 13-point jump just shows how much people want instant, summarized information.
And Google's own version, their AI overviews, or AIOs, they're basically designed to accelerate this trend, to keep you right there on Google's page.
They're a massive accelerant. AI overviews went from being a kind of rare thing, showing up on about 6.5% of queries in January 2025, to appearing on a huge 13% to 47% of all queries just 2 months later. It depends on the category, but
Wow, that's a more than 100% increase in just 2 months.
102% increase in deployment. Just shows how urgently Google is trying to compete in this new generative world.
Okay, so let's get specific. Which industries are taking the biggest hit from these AIOs, and what's the real traffic loss look like?
The impact is, frankly, brutal for publishers in certain sectors. Research from BrightEdge really quantified this well. For categories like healthcare and education, where people are looking for complex answers, AIOs are triggering on 87% of queries.
87%. So almost every time someone searches for health info, they get an AI answer first.
Exactly. And for B2B technology, it's 70%. Insurance is at 63%. These are all areas that rely on explaining complex topics, which is exactly what an AI is built to do instantly.
It makes sense. The things that require a deep explanation are the first to get synthesized away. But what about e-commerce? I mean, buying a shirt seems different than explaining, I don't know, quantum physics.
That's a great point. And interestingly, e-commerce actually saw a slight decline in AIOs during 2025. Google seems to have realized that for a shopping query, a single synthesized answer isn't what users want. They want to see a grid of products, pictures, comparisons. So AIOs are everywhere for informational searches, but shopping searches are shifting more towards those structured product ads or the new AI shopping features we'll talk about.
Okay, so AIOs are everywhere, zero clicks are at 60%. Let's talk actual traffic destruction. When an AIO shows up, how bad is it for the websites that used to get that click?
The data is. It's really stark. There's no ambiguity here. A controlled study from the Pew Research Center found that the click-through rate, the CTR, just plummets to 8% when an AI overview is on the page. The baseline without one was 15%.
So that's a 47% drop, almost half the traffic gone, just like that. But I've seen other analyses that are even worse.
We are. Firms like Sear Interactive tracked over 3,000 queries, and they saw organic CTR collapse by a staggering 61% for AIO queries. It went from an already low 1.76% down to just 0.61%. It confirms that for most informational searches, the value of being that first blue link is just evaporating.
That paints a really dire picture. It really does sound like the end for traditional SEO, where the whole point was to get the click. But you said there's a huge silver lining, so let's square the circle. Fewer clicks, but somehow more revenue.
Right, because focusing only on the click reduction is just seeing half the picture. You're missing the forest for the trees. The new game isn't about volume anymore. It's about influence. It's about being the trusted source that the AI pulls from, even if that user never, ever visits your site.
Okay, let's get into intent, because this has to be where the ROI model flips.
Right.
Walk me through the two different user journeys, the traditional searcher versus the AI assistant user. How does that explain this 4x to 9x conversion difference?
Good question. So the traditional search user, let's call her search user Jane. She types in a broad query, something like best video editing laptop. She gets 10 blue links. She clicks 3 or 4, reads a bit, realizes they're too long or too technical, or they don't fit her budget. So she goes back, she refines her search, and she does this over and over. Her intent is low because she's still in the middle of her research phase.
And the AI user?
The AI user Alex, starts a conversation. I need a lightweight laptop for video editing. It has to be under $1,000, and I need at least 8 hours of battery life. The AI synthesizes data from 20 different sources. It cross-references specs, checks community reviews on Reddit, which we'll get to, and it generates one precise recommendation with a few alternatives. So when Alex then asks, okay, where can I buy that top one, and clicks the link, he's clicking through with a fully formed, highly qualified purchase decision already made.
He's ready to buy, not ready to browse. That explains the conversion numbers.
Exactly. SEMrush data shows AI visitors convert at 4.4 times the rate of traditional organic traffic. And like we said, Seer Interactive clocked ChatGPT traffic converting at an incredible 15.9%. Compare that to just 1.76% for regular Google organic traffic. That's a nine-fold improvement. Volume is gone, but it's replaced by extreme quality.
9 times better. That completely changes the math on content creation. A single click from an AI source could be worth 9 clicks from the old way.
It changes everything. But there's another piece here. What about the value of being cited by the AI, even if you don't get a click at all? How do you measure that?
Right. That citation, that mention, that's the new currency.
It is. The data shows that brands that are explicitly cited inside Google's AI overviews get a huge authority boost that people act on later. Those brands get 35% more organic clicks and an amazing 91% more paid clicks, even if the user didn't click the link inside the AIO.
Wait, how does that work?
It's a psychological effect. The most advanced AI on the planet just told you that brand X is the source of truth. That creates top-of-funnel trust, so when you see that brand later in a regular search or in an ad, you're much more likely to click it.
So this whole shift from chasing clicks to chasing citations, that's the core of Generative Engine Optimization. That's GEO. Let's formally define this because this is where the new playbook really starts.
The distinction is critical. So SEO, search engine optimization, that's about optimizing your pages to rank in a list in a SERP to get clicks. GEO or AEO generative or answer engine optimization is about optimizing your content to be cited, to be summarized, and to be trusted inside those AI answer boxes. In ChatGPT, in Perplexity, in Google's AI overviews.
So if GEO is all about the AI platforms, does that mean traditional SEO is dead? Should teams just abandon it?
No, absolutely not. That's a huge misconception. GEO is augmenting SEO. It's building on top of it. Think of it like this. SEO builds the foundation. You still need it for site authority, for technical help like Core Web Vitals, for speed, for security. GEO is a specialized layer you build on that strong foundation to make your content ready for machine extraction. You can't do GEO well if your SEO foundation is a mess. They're totally interdependent.
That makes perfect sense. SEO is the foundation and the plumbing, and GEO is the specific tap that the AI decides to drink from. Okay, let's get a bit more technical. What's the fundamental mechanism that separates SEO from GEO?
Okay, so this is the key technical shift. SEO works by algorithmic scoring. PageRank, semantics, user behavior. It scores a whole URL and ranks it in a list of 10. The competition for a position on a list.
And GEO is different because the AI isn't scoring the whole page.
Yeah.
It's just grabbing pieces of it.
Exactly. GEO runs on large language models, LLMs. And these systems mostly use a technique called retrieval augmented generation, or RG. Think of RB not as an algorithm ranking a page, but as a supercritical, very specialized librarian. This librarian doesn't care about the ranking of the whole book, your web page. Instead, it just pulls out the 3 most relevant sentences or maybe a specific table based on what the user asked. That's the retrieval part.
So the LLM's breaking the content apart. It's taking only the best, most factual little nuggets and throwing the rest away. The whole idea of ranking one URL for one keyword is just broken.
It is, and that leads to this winner-take-most dynamic. Because LLMs have to be concise. They only cite, on average, maybe 2 to 7 different websites in a complex answer. That's a huge drop from the 10 links on a normal Google page. It means if you're not one of the top, say, 5 most authoritative and well-structured sources in your space, you're just invisible to the AI.
Wow. So the top of the funnel just got incredibly narrow. And if the goal isn't that #1 spot anymore, then tracking old metrics like keyword rankings and CTR is kind of useless. What are the new metrics? What are people using to measure influence in this GEO world?
Yeah, we've moved way beyond rankings and clicks as the main KPIs. A whole new set of GEO-specific metrics has emerged to measure actual influence, really focusing on how the AI itself validates your content.
Okay, let's list them. What are they?
First is citation frequency. Simply, how often do these AI platforms mention your brand or your content in an answer, click or no click? Second, and this one is huge for strategy, is AI share of voice. This is the percentage of all AI citations in your topic area that mention your brand versus your competitors. It's basically your authority market share, as seen by the AI.
AI share of voice. That sounds like a new critical metric. But how are companies even tracking this? I mean, the AI platforms don't exactly publish a list of their sources.
That's the challenge, but the tool industry is catching up. We're seeing new tools like Profound, Superlines, and Atomic popping up that are built specifically for this. They work by running huge numbers of automated queries against the LLMs and then indexing all the citations that come back.
And then there's the ultimate metric, the ROI one you mentioned.
Right. The bottom line is the AI-driven conversion rate. We use those incredible conversion numbers, like that 15.9% from ChatGPT, to justify the entire investment in GEO. It proves that influence, even with low volume, drives incredibly high-value business.
You mentioned that the SEO foundation still matters, especially authority. We all know about EET from the old SEO days: experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. But how does an AI score for that differently than a regular search algorithm?
That's a really important distinction. A traditional algorithm used EET as like a quality score, but an AI system uses EAT as a filtering mechanism for its argy system. It's not just looking for good content, it's looking for content it can trust enough to stake its own reputation on, because LLMs are programmed to hallucinate less when they pull from high EET sources.
So what does that mean in practice? Do we just need author bios on everything, or is it more technical?
It's both, but the technical side is becoming so much more important. The AIs favor content from authors or organizations that are established entities in knowledge graphs, like Google's own knowledge graph. So an article by a named, verifiable expert with credentials you can see on the page, that's cross-referenced elsewhere, that will get picked over a beautifully written but anonymous article every single time. And the investment here is growing fast. Mid-market brands are now spending, $75,000 to $150,000 a year just on these kinds of GEO initiatives.
That sets the stage for the investment. Okay, so now let's get super tactical. What does the GEO playbook actually look like on a page? How do you build content that a machine wants to quote?
The number one rule for every content team right now is that structure is the new moat. You have to stop thinking about content as just words for a human and start treating it more like an API for an AI. LLMs work best when information is structured and machine readable. And the funny thing is, this structured approach, it actually makes the content way easier for humans to read and scan too.
Okay, so no more burying the lead or using clever, vague structures. What are the specific tactics, the things that we know increase citation frequency?
All right, we've got a solid list based on research. First, TLDR sections. A short, concise summary, think 30 to 50 words right at the top of a long article. This gives the AI a perfect, clean piece to extract immediately. If you write a 5,000-word analysis, that TLDR is what the AI is going to lift verbatim 9 times out of 10.
That's a great little insurance policy for getting cited. What about headings?
Clear headings are non-negotiable, and they have to be descriptive, not clever. Use a clear hierarchy H1, H2, H3, and make the heading match a likely user question. So instead of a clever heading like the secret sauce of visibility, you need to use something boring but clear, like Section 3, GEO content structure tactics. AIs will just skip over clever headings because they don't have clear semantic meaning.
And I've been hearing that Q&A formats are making a big comeback.
A huge comeback. A Q&A format is critical because it gives the LLM a perfect question and answer pair. You should build specific FAQ sections with answers that are short and quotable, say 40 to 60 words. And if you pair that with FAQ schema markup, you're basically handing the AI perfect little snippets on a silver platter.
So you're organizing the content for the machine, not just for the human eye. What about visual structure beyond just text?
Visual structure matters a lot because it helps the AI parse information quickly. AIs are really good at pulling info from bullet points, especially for lists of 3 or more things. And even better, if you have data or comparisons, always put it in a table. The AI can instantly understand a table header, a column, and a value, whereas trying to pull that same info out of a dense paragraph is much more prone to error.
This all seems to boil down to making it incredibly easy for the machine to find and trust the facts.
Which brings us to the last, and maybe most important, structural element: factual density. Your content has to have clear declarative statements, statistics, proprietary data, things the AI can lift verbatim and cite as evidence. Content that's wishy-washy or uses vague language is far less likely to be cited than content that just states AI conversion rates hit 15.9% in Q3 2025.
That makes total sense.
Good.
The AI wants facts it can attribute. But structure isn't everything. You still have to be trusted. How do you build up those trust signals for the AI, what you called the authority stack?
The authority stack is that human layer of validation. First, freshness. This is absolutely critical. AI systems are designed to prioritize recent information to avoid giving outdated advice. Google's 2025 core updates specifically penalize stale content. So you have to treat your content like an ongoing asset. It needs refresh cycles, and you had to have a visible last updated date on the page.
So the old publish and pray model is a recipe for being invisible now.
Totally. Second is citation density. This one's fascinating. The GEO Bench study, a big industry report, found that content that cites 5 or more authoritative external sources, so academic papers, industry research, government stats. The content received 156% more AI citations than content that cited nothing. You have to show your work.
156% boost. So citing your sources is a core GEO tactic now, not just good practice. What about the human angle? How do you prove real expertise?
By including expert quotes, one study found that adding quotes from recognized industry leaders boosted AI visibility by 41%. AIs love quotes because they're a declarative statement attributed to an outside established entity. And this all points to the bigger idea, the human element. The whole AI will write everything idea is dead. AI-only content almost always fails the trust tests. You need human strategic judgment, human oversight, and a real named author with a bio to prove experience.
Okay, let's talk about the technical side. The bridge between classic SEO and this new world of GEO. What are the technical things that help both and are now absolutely mandatory?
The absolute bedrock is schema markup. This is the machine-readable code that literally tells the AI what your content is, what it's about, and who wrote it. You need comprehensive structured data FAQ schema, how-to schema, article schema, product schema. It helps the AI understand your content's type and authority.
Can you just quickly explain the difference? Like, when would an AI prefer FAQ schema over how-to schema?
Sure. FAQ schema is perfect for when your page has those direct, standalone question and answer pairs. Great for quick info queries. How-to schema is for procedural content, like a step-by-step guide. The LLM can use that to pull out just the steps for a task. The GeoBench study showed that just having proper schema boosts citations 89% of the time, because you're giving the AI clean, labeled data.
You're literally handing the machine the answers in a prepackaged format. What about site speed and crawlability? Are the AI crawlers as good as Google's?
That's still critical, maybe even more so now. Crawlability is a shared foundation for both SEO and GEO, but the LLM crawlers, things like GPT-bot, are often less powerful and less forgiving than Google's traditional bot, which has been crawling the web for decades. So you have to optimize your crawl budget. Fast load times, good mobile design, it's all crucial to make sure the LLMs can even find and parse your content. If your site is slow and messy, the AI bot might just give up and move on.
Fantastic. So we've covered the market, the content, but there's one thing that just exploded in 2025 and took everyone by surprise as a core trust factor: the rise of community platforms, specifically Reddit.
This is one of the most interesting and kind of counterintuitive parts of this whole shift. Reddit, the chaotic, unedited forum, became the #1 most cited domain across almost all AI platforms. It now accounts for over 40% of all AI citations, according to data Reddit shared in a shareholder letter.
40%. 40% of all AI citations are coming from Reddit. That is just unbelievable. You have this entire industry built on polished, optimized content, and it's being beaten by anonymous forum threads. Why? Why Reddit?
It comes down to one word: trust. OpenAI, for example, specifically designed its shopping research feature to prioritize real user experiences from places like Reddit. They see it as more trustworthy than marketing copy or even reviews on a product page, which can be faked. An OpenAI researcher even said it directly. Generally, a lot of reviews on Reddit are pretty trustworthy.
So authenticity, that raw user feedback, is now more powerful than a big optimization budget. This means having a community presence is basically a new ranking factor.
It is. For brands, this means authentic participation in relevant subreddits is now essential. And I have to stress authentic, no self-promotion. If people aren't talking about your product, or if your brand isn't genuinely part of the conversation on Reddit, the LLMs have way fewer reasons to trust and cite you.
And this focus on community trust is really shaking up the huge e-commerce world, especially with that new ChatGPT shopping research feature.
Yes, in November 2025, OpenAI launched Shopping Research, which runs on a special GPT-5 mini model. And it completely changed product discovery. It's not about finding a product page anymore. It's about finding the best product, as validated by real people. A single detailed Reddit thread about a product's real-world performance can now carry more weight with the AI than 1,000 five-star reviews on Amazon.
What makes this special GPT-5 model so good at shopping research?
It's incredible at constraint handling. A traditional search engine kind of breaks when you ask for a lightweight laptop under $1,000 for video editing with good battery life. But this GPT model is trained to synthesize information from all kinds of sources: reviews, forums, spec sheets, to find products that meet all those complex criteria at once. So your content now has to explicitly address those constraints with hard data points.
So who's winning in this new trust-based shopping world? The retailers who got on board early must be cleaning up.
We're seeing clear winners emerge. Shopify and Etsy were smart. They announced full integrations with OpenAI's tools early on. Walmart also forged a deep partnership and is seeing massive returns. Modern Retail reported that Walmart now gets a huge 36% of its referral traffic from ChatGPT. That's up from 20% before. And remember, that's traffic that's converting at up to 9 times the normal rate.
36% of referrals from ChatGPT to Walmart. That's a massive strategic win. But the biggest strategic move in e-commerce, with huge GEO implications, has to be the Amazon blockade. What did Amazon do, and what does it mean for brands?
Amazon made a really bold, really controversial move. They decided to block all of OpenAI's trawlers. GPT-bot, the search bot, all of them. So Amazon, which is about 40% of U.S. e-commerce, just made its entire product catalog invisible to ChatGPT's shopping features.
Hold on. So Amazon, the biggest player, is actively choosing to cut itself off from this high-intent, high-converting AI shopping traffic. Is that a brilliant long-term play to protect their data, or the biggest strategic blunder of 2025?
It's a huge gamble. They're trying to control the user experience and stop OpenAI from using their data for free. But for brands, it creates this immediate, massive visibility gap. If your product is only sold on Amazon, you forfeit all that AI visibility. This has made diversifying your sales channels, having your own D2C site, selling on Shopify, listing on Etsy, an urgent GEO requirement. If you're only on Amazon, hundreds of millions of AI users just won't see your product when they shop.
The Amazon blockade is basically forcing brands to build their own GEO strategy. This whole shift in trust and visibility, it's changing everything. Let's move to how the public is actually reacting to all of this. How are people feeling about AI in their search results?
We have some great survey data on this from across 6 countries. First, exposure is almost universal. 54% of people said they saw an AI-generated answer in search within the last week. This is happening so fast because it's being integrated into products people already use every day, like Google Search.
So everyone's seeing it, but does that mean they trust it?
Trust is mixed. It's very conditional. About half of people who see AI answers say they trust them. They like the speed, the way it pulls information together for them. But that trust falls apart in high-stakes areas.
High stakes like health and politics.
Exactly. For things like a health diagnosis or financial advice or political facts, a lot of users say they still go and verify the AI's answer with traditional sources. They'll trust it to find a recipe, but they won't trust it to summarize critical medical info without double-checking.
And what does that mean for the zero-click apocalypse? Are people clicking the sources when the stakes are high?
Not as much as publishers would hope. Only about a third, 33%, say they consistently click through to the source links in an AI answer, and 28% say they rarely or never click. So the AI is satisfying a lot of queries on its own. One interesting note, though, is that younger users are much more likely to click the sources, which suggests attribution is still important to them.
This high adoption, combined with that shaky trust, brings up serious questions about governance and ethics. The AI governance challenge feels massive.
It is. It mostly comes down to the source data. AI models inherit all the biases from the data they're trained on. This can lead to harmful or biased answers, and that creates a huge brand risk if your company is cited as a source for a bad answer. Brands now need to have a red team mindset, constantly testing the AI with tough questions to see how their content gets remixed and to prevent misinformation.
And what about governments? Are regulators stepping in?
They are. The EU AI Act, which will be fully effective in 2026, is the big one. It's going to force AI companies to disclose when you're talking to an AI and to label AI-generated content. And we expect that auditors, for things like SOC2 or ISO compliance, are going to start asking for proof of GEO controls and content monitoring as part of a standard audit.
And privacy is still a huge issue, right?
A massive one. It's a constant headache for these companies. GDPR enforcement is very active. We saw Italy hit OpenAI with a €15 million fine in late 2024 for data privacy violations. So your GEO strategy has to include making sure your content doesn't inadvertently expose any personal data that could be ingested by an AI.
Okay, so with all these things coming together, the AI usage, the click reduction, the conversion uplift, what's the timeline for AI search becoming dominant? When does GEO become the main driver of business?
We are getting very close to the tipping point. Gartner is forecasting a 50% reduction in traffic from traditional search by 2028. And other industry analysts project that because of its high conversion rate, AI traffic could match Google's revenue conversions by late 2027 or early 2028.
That feels incredibly soon. For a brand that's still on the fence about this, what does that timeline mean?
It means the window is closing. The window to establish yourself as an authority, as a cited entity for the AIs, is probably only 18 to 24 months. After that, the early movers will have this compounding advantage. They'll have built up so much citation authority that it will be incredibly difficult for late adopters to catch up. The AIs favor established authorities, so if you wait, you risk getting permanently locked out of the top sources in your field. This is not a wait-and-see trend.
And looking ahead, say, over the next year or so, what other big shifts should we be watching for?
I think there are three major shifts coming that will change the playbook again. First is the move toward verified attribution. OpenAI and Google are already testing provenance labels, like a digital watermark, that will give content with clear licensing and known authorship an automatic trust boost.
So that would crush all the low-quality, scraped, anonymous content even more.
Exactly. Second, watch for hybrid monetization. It's inevitable. We're going to start seeing sponsored citations in AI answers, just like the early days of Google Ads. And that will blur the lines between earning your citation and buying it.
And finally, search is going beyond just text, right?
Yes. The next wave is optimizing for multimodal search. This means voice queries, images, and video. Google is already integrating powerful models like Imagen 4 and VO3 into search. This means that well-structured video content that clearly answers a question or shows steps will become a major source for AI overviews in the near future.
Okay, let's bring this all home. It's pretty clear the game has completely changed. We're in a citation-driven world now.
The key takeaway for everyone listening is that the winning strategy isn't choosing SEO or GEO. It's mastering both at the same time. This isn't the death of search. It's the evolution of search into a multi-platform, super-efficient, citation-driven ecosystem.
That's right. Traditional SEO gives you the authority and the technical foundation, but GEO gives you the structure and the factual clarity you need to be visible in this new AI era. It turns out clarity and real expertise beat optimization hacks. The best answer always wins.
And if you connect this all back to that public perception data we talked about, people are very skeptical of AI answers in those high-stakes areas: health, finance, politics. And that presents a massive opportunity for truly authoritative brands, universities, medical sources, government bodies, real industry experts to step up and earn that trust.
Not just by being cited in the AI answer, but by being the verified source that users trust enough to actually click through for that critical information. That's where the real long-term value is.
So here's a thought for you to take away. Since we know the AI rewards highly structured factual content that answers specific complex questions, how can your own organization restructure its internal data, its proprietary expertise, to become the single most quotable, authoritative source in your niche, in a way that an AI can lift and synthesize perfectly? That is the GEO challenge for the next 10 years.
That is a perfect challenge to leave us with. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the $80 billion shift toward generative engine optimization. If you want more insights like these delivered directly to you, please subscribe to the channel to stay updated.